Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Weeknights. For 5 nights a week, we gave you the latest, the greatest, the shameless, largely from the famous of the entertainment industry. I am JD, aka He Who Pods. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. The Luther doc, Never Too Much, was put on Max recently. And we seen it. And so we're here to talk about it and have a follow-up conversation about a debate we had a while ago. Because we got to get to that at some point, too. You want to start or you want me to start? All right. So, growing up, I heard Luther on the radio a lot, but I didn't know anything about Luther. And by the time we were teenagers, okay, let me stop lying. I heard about the skinny Luther, fat Luther, skinny Luther, fat Luther. I heard about that. I watched Kings of Comedy, so I know we like fat Luther. I know that. I knew that. And then Luther passed when we were teenagers. So I didn't know much about Luther's personal life. I knew his catalog, I knew definitely some of them classics. But I didn't know much about his career, his personal life. I just knew the songs I knew. And as you get older and now streaming makes it easy to dive into people's discographies. Excuse me. I learned more of the discography. But this was a huge learning experience for me watching this doc. I didn't know most of the things in this doc. Man, Luther was great. What a smart move to start with the background singing and just kind of take off from there. And then like composing and arranging and producing for all of these people. I mean, man, everybody from David Bowie to Dionne Warwick, like it's crazy. And everybody in between. I said, wow, who knew? I didn't know Luther was this, I guess, talented and skilled is the way to say it. And then all of the jingles and stuff. I said, man, Luther was killing them. Way to do it. That guy was hustling. He got on any mic he could and did everything he could until he established his career. Who was it that fired him? Oh, I can't remember who it was. He's on tour and they said, all right, man, you need to go do your own thing. You don't need to be here no more. Get out. Yeah, too much. It was Dionne Warwick, no?
I can't remember.
All right, whatever. But anyway, it was funny. And the lady said, he likes to tell people I fired him, but I didn't. I just said, it's time. You fired him. Her story was the same as his. She just said it nicer. You told that nigga get out. Yeah. And that was probably the best move because Luther went on to shine like the astronomical star he was.
It was Roberta Flack.
Ah, good job. Thank you. Yeah, Roberta Flack said the same story. She's like, people like to say I fired him, but I didn't fire him. I just told him, you've graduated. It's time to move on to bigger things. She said, nigga, get out. He said, I was doing her. He said, sometimes she had press and interviews. She wouldn't be able to show up. So I had warmed the mic up for her, at sound check. I thought that was funny. I love that Luther was a student of the game. He was studying all of these great singers as he was coming up and even as an adult. Studying their tonality, their range, the way they delivered their notes, their harmonies. I said, man, Luther was not playing. I love that. To me, as somebody who also studied other artists, it was really relatable to me to hear him say that and hear other people speak about it. I also love that he was with the same crew for mad long, for years and years. I thought that was cool. But also I felt really bad for Luther because from the beginning, they say like, oh, hold on. Sesame Street? That was wild.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Sesame Street?
He was that guy.
when it just started.
Yeah.
And I love that everybody was like, nigga, that was Harlem. Wasn't no made up place. It was Harlem, okay?
Which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah. I love that. Everybody, like 4 or 5 people was like, nigga, it was Harlem. That shit wasn't no made up place. It was Harlem. Go look at Harlem. It's the exact layout of Harlem. I was like, all right, okay, I got it. Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Me too.
Yeah, but I seen the Sesame Street thing. I said, wow, look at that. But I felt really bad for Luther, going back to what I was saying, because, man, poor Luther, they wouldn't let Luther get no shine because he was chubby, man. And image is everything. I guess it's just always been that way in the entertainment industry. Yeah, and poor Luther couldn't get no love for a long time. And then, even when he did, it was putting Luther through the ringer about his looks, man. Poor Luther.
And, well, poor Luther, yes, but also I think he learned how to use it to his advantage as he progressed in his career. Who was it? Eddie Murphy, who made
I was going to say that shit
movies
he did
about
to Eddie
him.
Murphy was priceless. Because I know that stand-up.
Right, and then
That's Eddie Murphy Delirious 1983.
Yeah, and he went on stage and
He said he heard. He told him Eddie Murphy was coming. Nigga brought out the big bucket of chicken prop and started singing the KFC slogan.
but
I
that's
mean,
right.
KFC
That's what I'm saying.
jingle.
And we could talk about how people
Oh,
process
man.
trauma and how people process their pain
They
and their
spoke about that. Yep.
insecurities. But I think regardless of what the reason was, I think he took those moments and he tried to parlay them
Yeah, his
back
people said
into
that.
what he was doing.
His people said anytime you hurt Luther's feelings, he was gonna respond with humor. He's a funny guy, and he knew that, and he learned to use that to his advantage. But that shit with Eddie Murphy had me in tears.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was cracking up in the crib. I had to pause it and run it back.
He was I say that to say that I think that he was a really charismatic guy.
Absolutely.
He knew he didn't just know how to sing, but he had a personality that he was able to sell with it.
Absolutely.
And I thought it was really cool the way he knew what he wanted. He had a goal.
I'm 14.
And he set out to achieve that goal. In fact, he says in an interview, yeah, I told my mom that I was going to drop out of college and I want
He
to
said, and
pursue
bless her heart,
music.
she said, okay.
Yeah, and he was like, I wanted to pursue music. He said, I'm just gonna do it. Like, even if I get these rejections, I'm gonna just have to accept them and keep on moving because this is the thing that I want. And
Right.
I think that's a really courageous thing to do. I don't think we all have the gumption to do what he did. And to have that spirit during that time, I think is even more
Right.
cool and interesting because I think you'll find people doing that a lot more today than you would have back then.
Right.
So I thought that was
This is
really
the 80s. I mean, Luther was popping in 86. We weren't even born yet.
we weren't even born yet.
Still swimming around in testicles. Yeah.
Still getting ready to cook.
You know what I mean?
Not even in the frying pan. Quite.
Not, the oven wasn't even on preheat yet.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe you were, but you were probably the oven was preheating for you, probably.
I mean, maybe.
But yeah, I was inspired by hearing some of the stories about him and how he just was like, I'm out here and I could sing and I'm just going to be out here and sing and I'm going to get a Grammy. That's what I want.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting situation.
And we know how that story goes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I would imagine And it was more challenging back then.
Absolutely.
And poor Luther, they showed him sitting there every year.
Wait.
He said he didn't even think he was going to win. He had plans with his boy. Hey, man, just come with me to the shit. After that, we'll go get some nice dinner. It's right here in New York this time.
Hmm.
Called Luther right up there.
And he got up there and sang, finally, when it
Yeah.
really did happen. So I thought that was great. I enjoyed.
Well, no, remember, they had him performing for other people. They had him doing, like, his singles. Oh, the Dionne Warwick thing wasn't Grammys. It was American Music Awards.
But I thought when he won, he got up there, when he went to do his acceptance speech, he started to sing.
Oh, yeah. Like, just to, to fuck with the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you meant a full-on performance, because they did show him performing other times, too.
Mm.
But yeah, he wasn't playing. Wanted that Grammy.
Yeah. So I thought this was a great way to learn about him. I agree with you. I don't, or rather, I'm right there with you in that I did not know so much about his life or his story. So it was fun to watch. It was also sad.
It was sad. You know what was really cute?
What?
Seeing young Mariah Carey all nervous.
Yeah.
I said, oh, look at Mariah.
Me and Mariah.
All right. I said, look at little Mariah. You could tell she was super nervous on that stage.
Yeah.
And he was just walking her through it. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
When she wasn't nervous in that interview, you seen the way Mariah was looking in that interview? Chain was this big. My arms don't even fit in the screen. And Chain was brolic.
Well,
I said, God damn, Mariah had a piece this big on her neck. I said, damn.
because you know about Mariah
This
Carey.
big.
Because you know about Mariah Carey.
Mariah Floss and Carey. You know what I'm saying?
Mariah's ghetto like the rest of us.
Yes, I know. And I gotta be honest, when I saw her talking with that huge chain on her neck, I said, Mariah's ghetto. Love Mariah, but she can't help herself.
She's one of the niggas. Like she's
I said,
no,
look at this nigga right here.
she like to pretend like
Look
she's
at
a
this
different
nigga
kind of
right
woman,
here.
but she's not. Okay.
Look
If
at
you
this nigga
know,
right
you
here.
know.
I mean, or if you just watch Drink Champs, she be coming up on Drink Champs.
Or
Nori
just
loved to be like, oh yeah, I was sipping vodka with Mariah.
Google ODB's
Oh
meeting
yeah.
Mariah.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm sorry, back to you were saying the doc was sad.
It was sad, because they did talk about his struggles with his weight and
Yeah.
how that was heavy on him and heavy on his heart.
Oh, double
And
entendre.
I was trying not to,
How the weight was heavy on him, you know what I mean? The king of R&B.
I can't stand you because I was sitting here going, "Don't say weighing on him." And I tried to find a different
You
way.
like Mariah couldn't help it. You know what I'm saying?
So that
It was weighing on him. Come on.
was challenging to watch, to hear how much he struggled.
Yeah.
And obviously we could see it play out. We didn't know exactly what he was going through emotionally or even
Right.
going through health wise, but we could see when his weight was fluctuating. I mean, and with any of us, if our weight
And it was big
fluctuated.
changes. I mean, you might lose, an average person might, you might fluctuate 20 pounds in the 20-pound range, but Luther was dropping a $120 and then gaining it back. Dropping 116 and then gaining it back. Dropping 150 and then gaining it back.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
they were saying it was always an extreme. Like when he was dieting, it was always like
They said they said there was no middle. Either
right.
he was dieting or he was eating. There was nothing in between.
Right. But so that was sad, and like finding out about, the moments leading up to his death and just all of the things that he struggled with. I mean, that
Right.
part was incredibly sad. I teared up. Um,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely cried at the end.
but it also, I always say this, and maybe it's redundant, repetitive at this point, but it humanized him. I think it allowed us to see who he was from the start,
Yeah,
when he was younger up to when he got older. Um, it's not a perfect story and it's not a fairy tale in any way, but
right.
sometimes I think we need to see that, for people who are highly successful. I think that there's this assumption that they're out there in the world living their lives and everything is just roses and rainbows and
That was one of my favorite parts of the Beyonce Renaissance movie.
mhm,
She broke her leg or her knee. I can't remember which one. Um, right, like during practice or something. I
mhm,
can't remember the exact part, but they speak about her healing journey and how she was nervous even when the tour was getting ready to go.
yeah,
And she was like, I can't do certain moves without feeling the pain. And there's certain moves I don't know if I can do at all. I'm scared I might break it again.
yeah,
And I was like, wow, who knew that? Number one. And two, the strength of this woman to still be at practice and still put on this phenomenal show despite what she's going through.
yeah,
So yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Oh, I also really loved that everybody, including Roberta Flack and Dionne Warwick, was like, hey man, when Luther decides to do a cover song, that shit is no longer your song.
Yeah,
That shit is his song. And Luther is gonna slow it down and he's gonna Luther it. He will add that Luther flavor that will make people forget completely about your song.
not to be
And I
confused
love
with
that Dionne
Luther.
Warwick was like, my song was always good, but it was never perfect until when Luther did it at the AMAs in honor of me.
Yeah, he was super
That
talented.
was that was so cool to see that.
I listened to, I mean, I've especially been listening to this week after watching,
Big Dion. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, the other Dion. Um, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, I listen to Luther a lot. Um, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
As I said, Big Dion, I threw you off. You know what I'm saying?
You did throw me off. I
We were
had,
talking about him making cover records and enhancing them, making them his own.
yeah, I was just basically gonna say I still listen to Luther to this day. Like he's someone that you can kind of, get in a zone with and just throw on some Luther and I mean,
And
it's
take your
so
clothes off.
smooth. I was gonna say it's so smooth and easy to listen to, but
Yeah.
sure, he does have.
It made me think about the movie because they said that.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure I'm
Luther
sure
was
he.
like, I don't just want to be tied to that, okay? Okay, I'm glad. I'm happy for y'all. But I don't just want my music to make people do that.
I mean, he was doing love songs and ballads and
And
singing
that's what I thought when I
songs.
heard him say that. I was like, Luther, do you listen to your music? Do you know?
Right.
Do you know? Jamie Foxx had me cracking up. Who, by the way, was an executive producer.
And one thing Jamie Foxx gonna do is sing. If you put a camera in front of him,
Absolutely.
he don't ever
Absolutely.
let it don't matter who this is about. He's gonna sing anyway. And so
He want to remind you, hey, I can sing.
he made sure he gave us a note or two.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, but that was really cool though. He said, listen, when I was younger, I didn't have the skills to talk like I do today. I would call him and just put Luther on the phone. You know what I'm saying? I would just wait till the song came on the radio. Be like, hey, there's something I want to tell you. Hold on.
Oh, did the white women recognize him?
That was foul. That was foul.
It was?
You think Jamie Foxx was a teenager dating white women?
I don't know.
Anyway,
Did he wait until he had a little money and a little fame? Yeah, he did.
I said okay. I don't know Jamie
I'm
Foxx
asking.
personally. I don't know him personally, so I can't answer the question. But
No, I know some
if
people.
I ever do have the privilege of meeting Jamie Foxx, I'll make sure to ask him, hey man, you was playing Luther as a teenager for white girls, or it was sisters?
I mean, because you might be onto something. Some people think that white women are an upgrade.
Some people do think that, and that's unfortunate.
Fuck them. Anyway, the people who did that, not white women, just to be clear.
I'm glad you cleared that up. But also spoke about love, Luther's love,
We got love, love, talking about power.
or the lack thereof, because
He loved. He said that was his song. He said that's the real. He said if you want to know how he felt about love,
that was
Anyway
it.
was the song, which
And
is
his boy said it too.
quite sad.
It
Oh,
is sad. And his boy said it too. His boy was like, "Hey man, you want to know the real Luther? Listen to the lyrics of Any Love."
yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I might get some flack for this.
You didn't know any love?
I did not know Any Love before hearing that. And I was like, man, but I listen to Luther. Why I don't know Any Love? I was kind of mad at myself.
Great song.
And they spoke about love. They had a whole segment about Luther's love. Did you peep that they called Luther a hoe very nicely?
Everything about this was very nice.
I hope when I pass, my friends say I'm a hoe very nicely too, because man, that was the nicest way I have ever heard someone be called a hoe before. They didn't say he got around town. They didn't say he was putting niggas down. They didn't say Luther was fucking all day, every day before the show. All the stuff you hear other celebrities, talk about after the pass. People was like, Eazy-E had women around him all the time and could not stop fucking. They didn't say that about Luther. They said at one point, it was very clear that Luther was searching for any love he could find. Any love at all. I said, oh, Luther was in these streets, nigga. Luther was giving it to him.
Okay.
He said, you saw my lips on that cover.
All right.
You know what these lips and mouth and voice do.
Where is this going?
I just thought that was the flyest way ever to say someone was what's the nice way to say it? Starts with a P. Promiscuous. I thought that was the nicest way ever to say somebody was promiscuous. So yeah, at one point it was really clear Luther was just looking for any love. Any love he could find on any night. I said, oh! Okay. Message received. Now, speaking of the Luther love segment, quite some time ago, we had a debate because a Patti LaBelle clip went viral from this doc.
Yeah.
And Patti LaBelle was upset and put out a statement saying she was upset and she felt she was villainized. And so just to recap, she did an interview for this doc specifically, and she did not give them the rights to use it because Patti LaBelle wanted to be able to have the final edits. And CNN told her, go fly a kite.
Yes.
And so she said, well, then you can't use my interview. And they said, hey, that's okay.
We'll Google.
Because we got some shit in our back pocket that you said.
Yeah.
And so in the movie and the clip that went viral, it's the same thing that went viral. There's a clip of them speaking about Luther's sexuality. This is in the same segment where they talk about Luther searching for love. At one point, there is a segment in there in the middle about Luther and his sexuality. He says he doesn't want to say anything about his sexuality. It's not anybody's business. He don't like being asked those questions. And he's not going to dignify giving any response. Because if he says no, that in itself gives people something to talk about, and it's an answer People should mind their fucking business. That's what Luther said exactly.
And it should be noted that the Post had published a, what you want to call it, hit piece, what? But they had published these rumors that were out there about Luther. Like there was this rumor that he was dead and he had died of
Right.
AIDS, and yeah,
Luther was going through it in the press about his weight, about his sexuality, and yes, at one point they said Luther was dead.
yeah.
He said, I was on home watching TV. I was watching church on TV, and the sermon was praying for my dead body. And I was sitting there saying, but I'm right here. I'm alive.
But he
Yeah. So Luther
said
was,
he did an interview, and they were like, "So, like, people are saying you're dead," and he was like, "I am."
yeah. That was good.
I said, "Okay, he had a great sense of humor."
He sure did. But let's get back to the topic. Patti LaBelle is in there in a clip being asked on some show. I can't remember the name of the show. We spoke about it last time.
Watch What Happens Live.
Good job, co-host. And she's asked about Luther's sexuality. Was he afraid to come out the closet publicly? Is the question she's asked. And she says with no hesitation, oh yeah, he didn't want to disappoint his mom. She answers with no hesitation, and she says some shit she shouldn't have said. This is a person who they don't say in the doc, but it came out later on. She was with Luther in the end. She was taking care of him when he was sick. This was his good friend.
Yeah, she said that.
And our debate was about that, because Patti LaBelle said she was villainized in the doc, and you were batting for Patti. You said, "Hey man, we got to see more. Maybe there's more." And I said, "Hey, this is the clip that went viral. This is what we're reacting to." And you said, "Nah, fuck that. Maybe they did make Patti the villain. We got to watch the rest of the doc." And we both agreed Patti was wrong for saying what she said.
Absolutely.
But you said maybe there's more to it. And now we have seen that there is not more to it. Patti was not the villain of this doc. There was no villain in this doc. No. If there was, it was the press.
Right.
I would say the villain in this doc was the press and the music industry, who put Luther through the ringer.
Yeah.
So what do you say now that you've seen the whole doc about Patti talk too much LaBelle?
I mean, no, they didn't villainize her. It's just that everything that I had read around that time, that's the way it came across to me, that was, people were trying to throw her under the bus. And again, I said before, I think that what she did was wrong, but, and this is not an excuse, but Patti LaBelle is an older woman who, she was, when you watch the Watch What Happens Live clip, and I did watch that since then, when you watch the clip, it doesn't, I think that the host was trying to be probing, and he tends to ask things that might shock people or be salacious. And even in that moment, I didn't gather from him that he was being salacious. But Patti, to me, came across as someone who just was asked a question and answered it honestly. The problem with answering it honestly is that she divulged information that she shouldn't have.
Right.
And that she ended up, in turn, violating him and something that he was trying to protect.
Right.
And I never agree with that. I don't agree with that, and I didn't agree with it then when we talked about it before. But I also realized that Patti LaBelle was, and again, she says in the clip, the Watch What Happens Live clip, if you watch the full clip, she says that was her best friend. Like, when you watch it, you don't get the sense that Patti was trying to, like, she had nothing to gain from saying what she said. She just said it, and it's an unfortunate thing that happened. I wish she hadn't said it, because It sounds very much, even in her explanation, it sounds very much like he didn't want that to be public information.
Right.
So it shouldn't have been. I don't think you get to take that away from people when they die. I
Agreed.
don't think just because a person dies, you no longer have to protect their secrets. I think if you're protecting their secrets now, you should be protecting them while when they're in the grave, unless it's harmful to someone in some way. And I don't think this is something that would have harmed anyone in any way. And there's a difference between maybe a family member coming to you and asking you, hey, could you tell me a little bit more? I feel like there's things I don't know about him. Could you tell me a little bit more? I think I would be more understanding of that than like telling the public that this thing happened, or going on a television show and telling them that this happened. So I still don't think that Patty is a bad person. I don't think that Patty meant harm, but I think that she inadvertently probably did cause some harm, or just he's not here to say whether he was upset or not about it, but she didn't protect his secret, and
No, Patty
that's
was
not
foul.
that's not cool. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'm same. I think she slipped up, she fucked up, and that's that. But no, Patty was not villainized.
Yeah, I think she let them create. I think she allowed. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say it. I think she allowed the interviewer, Andy Cohen, she allowed the interviewer to claim that conversation. And I think there was a way for her to take it back from him and not actually answer the question.
Yeah,
Um,
she had to say, "Hey, that's my friend," and I'm not going to discuss that.
right.
That's
Um,
it. But without hesitation, she outed Luther.
right. And you say it without hesitation, but that's what I'm saying. I think she just answered, right? Like, I don't think she thought about it. I don't
Right.
think
But
she,
even on this podcast, we ask each other questions and we think before we answer.
of course, I'm not,
So that's why I keep saying without hesitation. She just blurted her answer right out. She didn't even take a moment to pause and think, oh, would my close friend want me to say this right now?
right,
What would my close friend want me to say?
right.
Like if somebody be like, hey man, why Dashing D be wearing hats sometimes on the podcast? I gotta ask myself, what would Dash want me to say right now? One. Two, what can I say that would be harmful to Dash? Because I don't want to say that. And number three, who the fuck is this person asking me this? Do they deserve an answer? Is it their business? Those are three things that I gotta think before I open my mouth and spit out an answer. Patty didn't do any of that. She just immediately was like, yeah, you know, he was struggling and he didn't want his mom to know. And son, what are you doing?
I mean, and I agree. I'm never okay when people tell my business. So like I'm totally in agreement that it wasn't the right thing to do. Um yeah.
Now, let me ask you something unrelated to this topic.
Hmm.
Lil Wayne performed a mashup of his hits, a condensed, quick 5.5 minute performance.
Hmm.
They say a run through of his hits
Hmm.
on Saturday Night Live.
With the roots.
With the Roots, of course, with the Roots. I'm sorry. Um,
They sounded great. I didn't mean that disrespectfully. I just want to point out that they sounded great.
oh, I don't think that's ever. I don't think saying they sounded great is ever disrespectful.
Well, I what I'm trying to say is I wasn't saying they sounded great versus him. I'm just making the point to say that they sounded great. That's it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Hard stop.
Now, my question is,
No.
we've had all this hoopla
Hmm.
about Lil Wayne in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And now we've seen Kendrick's performance.
Yes.
And now we've seen Lil Wayne perform right after
For 5 minutes and 36 seconds, yes.
for half the time. Correct. Do you think they made the right decision with Kendrick over Wayne?
Yes.
Me too.
So I think that I've never seen Lil Wayne perform live. You have, but if you've seen any recent performances from Lil Wayne, I think this is the best one that I've seen. I think he was articulate. Um, I think that he was moving, like he had some life in him. And I think he attempted to be engaging, and that's a good thing. And like I said, the roots sounded great, so I think putting the two together worked. I didn't like the arrangement of the mashup.
Me either.
Most of the transitions weren't good. There was like one that was good. Most of them weren't. And
Yeah, I agree with that.
that may not be his fault. Um, that's usually a collaborative effort, so I'm not gonna fault him for that. But well, I guess I could fault him for agreeing to do it. But I just think it's different. The only Lil Wayne's recent performances is not the only reason that Lil Wayne wasn't the person who was chosen for the Super Bowl.
Right. Well, I ask, we know that and I agree with you. I ask because since this performance came out, Lil Wayne fans are like, you see, this could have been great at the Super Bowl. And I don't agree.
I've gotten a mixed I've seen mixed reactions to this. I've seen that, and then I've also seen, you see, this is why Kendrick made sense.
Yeah, I don't think Lil Wayne. Okay, so now that we've seen Kendrick's performance, could Lil Wayne have gone up there and done something like what Kendrick did, where he doesn't really do his commercial hits? Yes, could have done that. I mean, if he so chose to, he could. Kendrick did it. We already critiqued it.
I don't think
Could Lil Wayne have done something like that? If he chose to, yes. Now,
I don't think it would have gone over the same way.
I was about to say that. I don't think it would go over the same way.
I mean,
One,
Kendrick's
two,
performance didn't necessarily go over well either.
right. Well, that's why I said we already critiqued it. I don't want to dive into that too much, but
I'm just talking about
two.
the public's reaction to it, not what I think of it or anything
No,
like that.
I know what you mean. Number two. If these were the songs that he was gonna do at the Super Bowl, it wouldn't have really hit hard, in my opinion. Number one, the problem with Lil Wayne's quote unquote hit records are a lot of them are sexual and braggadocious
Yeah.
to the point where I don't know how you perform them at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that's number one. Number two, I hear you on saying that he was engaging and moving. I don't think this was a very energetic Lil Wayne. At one point, he was just
Didn't use that
standing
word.
still at the mic, not moving at all.
I didn't use that word.
Okay. I'm saying that I don't think this was an energetic Wayne. I don't think this was a high energy performance.
I didn't say that either.
I'm not saying you said that. I'm
No,
just
I'm
giving
just
my
making
opinion.
sure it's clear. I did not say those things either.
You said he was articulate and he was moving around.
And he was
And,
engaging.
right. And I'm saying I don't think those were the things. I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
And I'm saying that I don't think this energy level, I don't think this performance level would have translated well at the Super Bowl. I think this was more of why we shouldn't have seen him at the Super Bowl. And I think they made the right choice, whether Kendrick did what you liked or not. And I also think Lil Wayne, although you're saying he was articulate, his lyrics are not the most clear. there's a lot of mumbling and babbling, and I always quote when he says, I said, I think, I mean, I think, I said, I think, I mean,
Right,
I
but
think, I said, I mean.
I
I
guess
don't, nobody want to hear that at the Super Bowl.
which is fine. I'm not making a claim for him to be a Super Bowl
No, I
artist,
know. You gave your opinion, and I'm giving mine. I'm not trying to debate your opinion.
but I
I'm just
do
giving mine.
but I do think that if you're looking at previous performances, I don't know why my lighting keeps changing like this. I think if you're looking at previous performances where you're not able to understand him, he's in some performance seems quite lifeless, and just I think it's safe to say that Lil Wayne has been working on his performance since the Kendrick thing happened.
Okay.
So I think that this is an improvement from what we've seen previously.
Some
And
people are just
that
not great performers.
which is fine. But I think that
Like that
there
has been the
there's
criticism of Jay
things.
Z forever. Hove just goes
Mhm.
up there and just does his songs. Nothing special.
Yeah.
That has been the criticism forever. And that's fine. But we also are not arguing about why Jay Z should perform at the Super Bowl.
Yep. And I know that. And
Yeah,
I
I'm more talking to the audience than you when I say that.
oh no, I'm agreeing with you because I've seen Jay-Z live, and I mean he walks around and grabs his crotch and
Jay Z is smart,
does the
and I've
little
said this
dip
here
that he
before.
does, and
I've said this here before. Jay Z is smart because what he does is he adds other components that add to his performance. He'll add the live band. He'll have features come out. He'll have Memphis Bleak, who's high energy, up there being his hype man. Memphis Bleak will be running back and forth through the stage. Memphis Bleak will be hyping up the crowd. And so now you're like, wow, I saw a great show. He
yeah,
adds components, and perhaps that's what Lil Wayne would need to do. I don't know, but I'm just saying, that SNL performance was cool, but it wasn't spectacular, and it was only 5.5 minutes.
and I'm not afraid to say that I didn't think SZA was a Super Bowl performer. I didn't think Lil Wayne was a Super Bowl performer. Kendrick, I think, kind of teeters the line between whether he is or he isn't. I mean, whether he was or he was not, he was, right? Um,
Right.
and I said I think he did a phenomenal job, and I think those who got it, got it. And if you didn't get it,
I came through looking for the Brock.
right. Like if you didn't get it, that's fine. Um, I don't think people like to see things that are different, or people also don't like to see things they don't understand.
Right.
Um, People also don't like to see things they don't understand. So I think that was a lot of what happened. I think that's a lot of the backlash is that people don't people didn't understand it. So I'm not gonna. I think he did a phenomenal job. I don't think everybody can get up there, and I don't think they're gonna let anybody else get up there and do what he did because he basically gave them the middle finger,
Yeah.
even though they invited him to perform.
And I just
And
don't know. I just don't know how you perform 6 foot, 7 foot, a millie, and lollipop on the Super Bowl stage.
I
Like,
don't either. And that's why I'm saying I think that people fail to realize that this is not just about like, is he coherent?
right,
It's not. Because
right.
I think that was a big criticism when this whole thing went down. People were like, "Have you seen Wayne perform recently?" It's like you can't understand what it's not just that. That's one of the things which it looks like he is working on, which I think is great. But that's not the only reason he wasn't invited to, and that's why when this whole thing happened, it was just like, are y'all crazy? do y'all even realize that the fact that this many Black people have been on that field at this point is a privilege? It shouldn't be, but it is.
Right.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. Whoever is great and talented and fits the criteria should be there. It shouldn't be that it's a privilege and that we had to get Jay-Z in the door and all of that just to make it happen.
Right.
Lil Wayne is not. And I could give y'all a list. I know some of y'all didn't like that I said what I said about SZA, but at least I'm honest, and at least I stand 10 toes down when I believe something.
Most of the people seem to agree with you in our comments.
And then somebody laughed the other day at me and said, "I'm so glad that I'm what was it? I'm so glad that I'm not a part of the minority in this." And I was like, I don't understand why y'all think groupthink is cool, but it's fine.
Because that's what America taught them. But anyway.
It's fine. Like, I'll stand on it by myself. I could be the only person that believes it, and I'll be okay with that. And I stand on it today. She did a great job. It doesn't mean that I think she was the artist that needed to be there. That doesn't change. We don't need to go back.
In closing, one last question. You think Lil Wayne performs next year?
No, absolutely not.
Me either.
No, I don't think he does. And y'all better count your lucky stars too, because they're gonna be real selective. Jay-Z or not, they're gonna be real selective with who performs.
Yeah, after that Kendrick. Yeah, after that Kendrick, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Taylor Swift next year.
A strong possibility that it'll be Taylor Swift. I just think that's in the cards, but because she hasn't. But yeah,
no. Go up there and give y'all all the dead poets.
Oh, and I'm gonna have a great time. Okay, when I tell you. When I tell you that
she's gonna have Travis Kelce on the stage, and she's gonna sing to him, "I knew you were in trouble when you walked in."
Right. Isn't that song about what's his name?
I have no idea.
John Mayer.
I have no idea.
I think it's about John Mayer.
I have no idea.
I knew you were. Wait.
That's it.
That is her. That is her. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, a lot of them songs are about John Mayer. But because they used to date. She used to date all the popular white boys and write songs about them.
I say nothing.
That was her thing, but in closing, for real, in closing, yeah, I would enjoy that performance. I'm sorry, y'all can roast me if you want.
If Taylor is at next year's Super Bowl, I'll be skipping that halftime show.
I don't know why.
This has been Weeknights.
You're a cultural commentator. You provide cultural commentary.
Is Taylor Swift part of our culture?
No, you provide cultural commentary, not the culture commentary. Cultural commentary. We talk about white people all the time. Look at the Weeknights Hall of Fame just last week.
I can't wait to clip that up.
You got some fucking nerve to sit here and talk about how you're not going to talk about the Taylor Swift performance.
Those were only nominees. We did not finalize who's going to be in the Weeknights Hall of Fame.
We didn't.
Those were all nominees. Okay.
We will. No, we're going to have.
And speaking of nominees, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, we're going to have our Hall of Fame episode where we actually hammer it out and give out awards.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
But anyway, we gotta go.
Yes, we do. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Weeknights.
You were in trouble when you walked in.
Thank you for being here.
Trouble.
We appreciate you.
Trouble. Oh.
We'll see y'all next time.